Um, um, can you let me to share screen, please? Okay. Well, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much for the head of department, lecturers in English department in Universitas Negeri Malang, and all committee participants and all presenters. Okay, my topic today is about euphemisms as a communicative competence in social interaction through social media. This topic is generated to become the title of my paper because this is particularly corresponding to the theme of our conference today, that is related to the use of social media and so on. Okay, this is one of the topics related to our communicative competence in using social media. Well, first of all, we need to know what euphemism is. I do believe that most of you here have already known, or at least have already heard the term euphemisms. However, it's better for me to give you a little bit about the original term, or how the term euphemism is derived. So euphemism is derived from "o," which means well, and "phem," which means voice or speak. Okay, in other words, we can say that using euphemisms, we speak. Okay, we speak with a mild expression. It means that we move from rough expression to mild expression, to the unpleasant, from unpleasant expression to the pleasant one, from the offensive expression to the neutral one, and from vulgar expression to polite one. This is actually the intention of using euphemisms in order to modern our expressions, in order to make our expressions sound pleasant, and then we can please others. Okay, of course, rough to mild, unpleasant to pleasant, offensive to neutral, vulgar to polite is related to meaning. These expressions are closely related to meanings because what we make mild is the meaning. What we make pleasant is the meaning. So we make the meaning of our expressions pleasant, neutral, and polite. So when we talk about meaning, it means that we talk about semantics. Okay, when we talk about meaning, we talk about semantics. Okay, the scientific study of meaning. Well, studies in euphemism, as I told you earlier, actually is a part of semantics that is particularly related to the topics in semantics. And in the smaller topic in semantics, the euphemisms is discussed in figurative language. Figurative language is the opposite of literal language. However, it still belongs to semantics because figurative language is or contains the meaning which is still in the figure, which is still in the border. So you cannot go away from the border, okay, from the border that has limited the meaning of certain expression. However, when the meaning is contextual, of course, we talk about the pragmatics, but now euphemism is originally a topic in semantics. Nevertheless, euphemism can also be studied in other points of view or in other branches of linguistics. You can study euphemisms from pragmatics, a pragmatics point of view. You can also study about euphemisms from sociolinguistics point of view, and you can also study euphemisms from anthropolinguistic point of view. Okay, So we can say that if you want to do research on euphemisms, your research is not only limited to research on semantics, but you can also study euphemisms from pragmatics point of view, and also sociolinguistics and anthropolinguistics point of view. And of course, when you study euphemisms from anthropolinguistics point of view, you study euphemism from the perspectives of cultures. And that is also one of the parts of my presentation today, because in the view of culture, okay, in the view of culture, we can say that the expressions that need euphemizing, okay, in one culture may not need to be euphemized in another culture. Okay, this is also the finding in some previous studies, that the expressions that need euphemizing or that need to be euphemized in one culture may not need to be euphemized in another culture. So you can see here that actually euphemisms can be an individual euphemisms. And when we talk about individual euphemisms, the euphemism which is accepted only by the speaker himself or herself, when you talk about individual euphemisms. And also, euphemisms can be studied from the social euphemisms. When we are talking about social euphemisms, we are talking about euphemisms which are acceptable in certain society. That is, social euphemisms. And euphemism is also cultural. Okay, it's also cultural. So euphemisms can be viewed, okay, from a culture, okay, or from the culture where those euphemisms are used. And the question is there a universal euphemisms? Okay, it depends on you. Okay, so universal euphemism means euphemisms which are accepted by all people in this universe. And as I told you earlier, euphemism is cultural. It means that some euphemisms are universal, but some others are not, because there are some factors that determine or that influence the use of euphemisms. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so this is my topic. So the use of euphemisms, is related to culture. Okay, it's related to culture. That's why I told you 2 times before that the expressions that need euphemizing in one culture may not need to be euphemized in another culture. In other words, euphemisms allow us to have communication across cultures. And in this context, such a cross-cultural communication is facilitated by social media. Now, this is the rationale. This is the reason why I take this topic, okay, to be presented today. You see that all of you here, I believe, are social media users. And I also believe that all of you here have accounts in different social media. So I can say that you are social media users, and you also belong to certain e-community or e-society. Okay. And I also believe that some of you found frequent use of abusive language, offensive expressions, or hate speeches in various social media where you are involved in. Okay, and of course, this shows your lack competence or your lack of social and communicative competence. Okay, sometimes you can see insults there and so on. There are many kinds of hate speeches in social media. And these abusive language, offensive expressions, and hate speeches result in social conflicts, okay, quarrels, disharmonious relationship, and even you have no more relationship with others, because sometimes we don't realize that our language is offensive, okay, because, in our opinion, then our language is just neutral, but for others, maybe, okay, our language or expressions are offensive or you see, unpleasant to others. Okay, therefore, we need to use a language style that is non-offensive, that is neutral, and is delivered in a polite tone. Okay, and is delivered in a polite tone. We need to use that language style, and we can be facilitated by the use of figurative language as euphemisms. Okay, this is actually the practical reasons of choosing this topic. Frequent use of abusive language, of offensive expressions, and hate speeches spread out throughout the social media, and this causes social conflicts among the social media users. Therefore, there must be a solution, okay, to overcome such problems, and one of which is the use of language style that is non-offensive and is delivered in a polite tone, euphemisms. Okay, now, euphemisms mainly used to avoid taboo words. This is actually the main creation of euphemisms in order to avoid taboo words. And what are taboo words? Okay, these are some examples of the objects which are taboos. Okay, the first one is body, our body, okay, or certain parts of our body, okay, and then organs and acts of sex, and diseases, death, and killing, and also naming persons, sacred beings, objects, and places, food gathering. These are some words or some objects which are considered taboos. However, you see that euphemisms are cultural, and this, these taboo words are particularly applicable in English culture. And this opens opportunity for other researchers to do research on the objects of taboos, okay, in another culture, okay, in another culture. Okay, here you can see that bodies, okay, and their effluvia, organs, and acts of sex, diseases, death, killing, okay, and so on. These are taboos in English cultures. However, this may not be applicable in another culture. So, by seeing euphemisms as a cultural factor, you can do other studies on euphemisms involving different cultures. And this is again, they're related to the expressions that need euphemizing in one culture may not need, okay, to be euphemized in another culture. Okay, this is the research gap. Okay, there are a number of studies or a number of previous studies talking about euphemisms. For example, talk about they explore techniques and functions of euphemisms. Then they explored or studied euphemisms as digital technology-based learning media. And then they also explored the use of taboos and euphemisms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And then some of them also studied rhetorical strategic functions of English euphemisms. These are some of many other studies in euphemisms. And, this is the gap that we need to fill. And this is the gap that we need to fill in. Okay, so we can raise questions related to complete what have not been done by the previous studies. You see, when you want to talk about or when you want to decide a topic, you need to read a lot. Okay, you need to read a lot of previous related studies in order that you can propose a novelty in your research. Okay, and this is frequently known as research gap. So I can fill in the research gap by finding out the forms, objects, and communicative functions of Indonesian euphemisms posted in Facebook. This is, the gap or the topic to complete what have been done by the previous researchers. In other words, when we want to do a study, we have to know what have been known or what have been done by previous studies or previous researchers. So we decide, okay, what we are going to do to fill in the gaps left in the previous studies. Okay, and these are the findings or you see the results of the exploration of euphemisms in Facebook. Based on the forms, you see what I mean by forms here is how euphemisms are formed. Okay, how euphemisms are formed. There are 10 forms of euphemisms I found in the Facebook. The first one is abbreviation, such as this one is should be not ODEGJ, but ODGJ, yeah, ODGJ, okay, and then ART, LC, LGBT, and then blending, lapas, bundir, misvi, phonetic distortion, okay, such as anjay, pembokat, borrowing, gay, zakar, astral, vague words, anunya, substitution, maruda paksa, prasejahtera, coinage, idohoi, yeah, words from literary works, berpulangnya ke rahmatullah, ellipses, melakukan pelecehan, periphrases, yeah, such as rawan pangan and warga binaan. These are some of the euphemisms, okay, used in, or posted on the Facebook, and they are posted or they are formed, okay, or they are derived from different forms. Okay, now let's talk about more details or examples of each of the forms of euphemisms. Okay, here you are. Nggak habis pikir saya dengan ODGJ ini. Bagaimana bisa dia kumpulkan tali di badannya sampai sebanyak ini, guys. And you see here that ODGJ or ODGJ in this posting, okay, in this posting is used in order to milden, okay, in order to milden the expression. Instead of saying kamu gila, you are crazy, you see that that is really vulgar and that is really offensive, and it's not pleasant to hear that word. Okay, so ODGJ is the first example. You see that ODGJ belongs to phonetics elements using abbreviation. It means that we form the euphemisms by using phonetic elements and particularly in terms of abbreviation or initialism. Okay, the next example is anjay. Okay, anjay also belongs to euphemisms. Okay, also belongs to euphemisms. Okay, and the type of euphemism or the form of euphemism is phonetic distortion. You distort the forms, you distort the sounds, you change the sounds. It doesn't look like anjing. Actually, you know, the original form of anjay is anjing. Remember, the key of analyzing euphemism or the key of determining whether certain expressions are euphemisms or not is the term must have, okay, the offensive form. For example, you see here that ODGJ is abbreviation, but not abbreviations are euphemisms. Okay, not abbreviation, not all abbreviations are euphemisms. Okay, remember the key point to determine whether the expressions are euphemisms or not is those expressions must have the neutral, the offensive terms or the original terms. If that is the only word choice, that is not euphemisms. Okay, this one is phonetic distortion. And phonetic distortion can be also be in the form of repetition, such as piss. Okay, piss when you want to do a kind of activity using your fetal organ, and this can be euphemized by using piss. Okay, the next one is zakar. Zakar, is the male genital, and you see that is taboo. Okay, that's taboo to say it in our Bahasa Indonesia. In the word, okay, provided in Bahasa Indonesia. However, by using, this is what we call as borrowing. By using borrowing, okay, we can accept that term, and we don't feel disgusted when we hear the term instead of using its terminology in Bahasa Indonesia. That's why borrowing can also be used as one of the forms in euphemisms. And also the other examples, as I showed you before, the term gay. Okay, maybe gay is more acceptable than other than saying, let's say, bencong or banci. You see that gay is more acceptable. Okay, even though those words refer to the same meaning. Okay, the next one is anunya. Okay, anunya. This one is called vague words. Okay, mancing gak sadar anunya kelihatan, and anunya here actually refers to her genital organ. Okay, her fetal organ. However, by using fake words, okay, this expression is acceptable. Okay, this expression is acceptable. Okay, the next one is using substitution. Okay, using substitution, for example, mengamankan. What is the meaning of mengamankan? Of course, you know that mengamankan means making something safe. Okay, or saving someone from other persons, or saving someone from other things. That is the meaning of mengamankan, or making someone insecure. This is the meaning of mengamankan. However, in this context, mengamankan is not to make someone safe or in order to make someone secure, but the real meaning of mengamankan is present, or you can also say arrest. Okay, so arresting is really offensive. Okay, it is an offensive term, and therefore instead of menangkap, okay, or arresting, okay, the use of mengamankan looks more neutral. Okay, so we substitute the original word with the other word which sounds more present, or which sounds neutral. Okay, which sounds neutral. Just to make someone safe. That is mengamankan, or just to make someone secure. Okay, that is the form of substitution, and these belongs to the use of lexical elements in forming euphemisms. Okay, the use of lexical elements in forming euphemisms. The next one, forms of euphemisms, and also or in other words, euphemisms can also be formed by using grammatical elements. Okay, by using grammatical elements. That is ellipsis. Okay, ellipsis, dilation, or elimination. Okay, or eliminating some of the elements of a sentence. You see here that diduga melakukan pelecehan. Actually, there must be here the addition of the word which is eliminated. What is it? Melakukan pelecehan seksual. And you see here that the word sexual is not mentioned in this sentence. So that is what we call as ellipsis. We delete or we eliminate some of the words that constitute a sentence, because pelecehan can also be in other forms, pelecehan nama baik, pelecehan nama, and so on. Okay, so this is what we call as ellipsis. We use ellipsis. We can also use ellipsis in order to euphemize our expression or the meaning of our expression. And the last one is the use of euphemisms is formed by using rhetorical elements. And in this context, I show you the form of rhetorical elements using periphrases. Okay, periphrases is a term which is almost synonymous with paraphrase. Okay, we paraphrase our expressions in order to make our expressions more neutral. So, polisi terpaksa melakukan tindakan tegas berukur. This is called periphrases. Okay, what is the meaning of tindakan tegas berukur? The meaning of tindakan tegas berukur is menembak, shooting. Yeah, and shooting is very offensive. Shooting is vulgar. Okay, so we use the neutral expression instead of saying tindakan tegas terukur. Okay, we can use instead of saying menembak, we can use tindakan tegas terukur. So this is what we call as periphrases. We paraphrase. Okay, we describe it in the other or by using other expression which refer to the same meaning. Okay, so this is the form of euphemisms in periphrases. Now, objects of euphemisms. This is what I told you before, that objects of euphemisms may be different in another different culture. Okay, in another different culture. For example, okay, this is the finding. Okay, the objects of euphemisms in the Indonesian expressions posted in Facebook or on Facebook. Okay, the first one is occupation, mental status, okay, social status, disgusting place, death, body organs, sexual activities, animal, supernatural beings, and violence. These are the objects that need to be euphemized in Indonesian culture, especially those posted on social media. Okay, for example, occupation, LC. LC stands for ladies companion. Okay, ladies who usually accompany other guys, okay, other guys in let's say karaoke room and so on. That is ladies companion. And assistant rumah tangga, this is actually servant. Yeah, wanita pramunikmat, the other term is WTS. Okay, this one is mental status. Yeah, social status, for example, LGBT warga binaan. You see, warga binaan just the people or the society which has been given training. That is warga binaan. Okay, actually warga binaan is, prisoner. Okay, prisoner. And you see that prisoner is vulgar. Prisoner is offensive. Prisoner is embarrassing. Okay, and disgusting place, lapas. Okay, lapas is hotel prodio, hotel prodio, and lapas both are prisons. Okay, death, bundir, instead of saying bunuh diri, berpulangnya. Okay, and body organs, Miss V, anunya, zakar, sexual activities. Okay, animal, supernatural beings such as astral. Okay, and violence. Okay, violence such as mengamankan instead of saying menangkap, melakukan tindakan tegas terukur instead of saying menembak. Okay, these are the examples. Lowongan kerja LC Jakarta Barat. So,
excuse me, Mr. Rizky.
Sorry?
I would like to remind you that we only have 5 minutes left for the presentation.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Lowongan kerja LC. And of course, if it is used in its full term, no one's to apply. Okay, no one wants to apply for the job. However, by using LC, ladies companion, that stands for ladies companion, maybe, okay, some people want to apply for the job. Okay, and this one is related to occupation. And here, the next one is Maruda Paksa. Okay, Maruda Paksa is related to sexual activities. Okay, and you see that Maruda Paksa is used to euphemize the expression that or the meaning that contains in memperkosa. So Maruda Paksa, instead of using the word memperkosa, which sounds vulgar and unpleasant. Okay, the next one is prasejahtera. Yeah, prasejahtera, okay, is used to show the social status. Okay, the social status. Instead of saying miskin, and no one wants to be said miskin. And instead of saying miskin, we can use the term prasejahtera. Of course, this is related to the social status of someone, yeah, or social status of a family. Okay, prasejahtera instead of saying miskin. Okay, and this one, this is the last finding related to the communicative functions of euphemisms. And there are three functions of euphemisms here. The first one is to show politeness, to hide the truth, and the last one is to avoid taboos. These are the communicative functions of euphemisms. Okay, and these are, the examples of the communicative functions. So the use of prasejahtera is to show politeness, to show our respect to other disadvantaged family or disadvantaged society. So we can use prasejahtera to show our politeness, to show that actually we are in the same level or in the same social level. So we are not different in terms of social status. So to show politeness. The next one is to hide the truth. Yeah, as I told you earlier, warga binaan actually is not society who is in training, but actually that is the society in a prison. But you see here that the expression used is warga binaan, just to hide the truth. Okay, and last one is to avoid taboos. And you see here that the example is menggauli. Okay, so menggauli, actually, it can be used in neutral, okay, in neutral meaning when it is used in different contexts. So the word menggauli is not vulgar, okay, and actually this is related to sexual activities, but by using euphemism menggauli, the word is acceptable and that is not disgusting. So the implications of studying euphemisms on Facebook, we can say that the findings of this study indicate that using euphemisms in communicating through Facebook shows the social media user's communicative competence in maintaining his or her relations with others. So if you can use a correct or a proper euphemisms, you show that you are competent in communication. You have certain degree of communicative competence. And you see that you are able, okay, you show that you are able to maintain your relations with other social media users. And communicative competence in this context is understood as the ability to use communication as the media, what for? To establish and maintain social relationship, not to break up the relationship, but to establish, to maintain the social relationship. And language is mainly a means of communication, which is intended to facilitate people in implementing their roles as social creatures. We are social creatures, regardless changes in the communication media, even though we use different communication media, but we still show that we are social creatures that need other persons in order to survive. In conclusions, euphemisms are formed using various elements. Nevertheless, those elements, okay, this is the key, those elements must have associative meanings with the euphemized words or euphemized expressions. If they are not associated in meanings, you cannot use those euphemisms. So we have limitation. That's why euphemism is originally a study in semantics. Okay, and the forms of euphemism also are much influenced by the culture where those euphemisms are used. Euphemisms are primarily used to replace vulgar or taboo words. Nevertheless, a taboo categorization depends on the social and cultural context where they are used. Therefore, I told you once again that it is open for you to research, okay, to research euphemisms in your culture because, different culture may use different euphemisms. And finally, in the interactions using social media, communicative functions of euphemisms build the social media users' communication